योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Sheetal Shukla from Department of Earth Sciences, Gujarat University. Let me thank HRDC for inviting me to this refresher course. I am also thankful to all the participants who have joined this minutes. My presentation would be on agricultural development with respect to climate change impact. And this presentation is a part of my ICCSR project and other research work which we have been doing for the last few years. And therefore, I am thankful to ICCSR for funding to do such kind of research. Well, as far as my topic is concerned, we all know that the agriculture development and climate change has two ways relationship, that is of cause and impact. Before going or understanding this two ways relationship, just quickly we understand what is climate change. So I would just like to define climate change as a significant and lasting change in statistical distribution of weather patterns over a longer period of time. So I think most of the scholars and researchers understand that we require at least 30 years of time period to do research on climate change assessment and implications. Now we all know that the climate change scenario has become more intensive in recent years, and the major cause is because of the greenhouse gases. The causes can be of natural and human. Of course, we know that the solar radiations, the volcanoes, plate tectonic movements, earthquakes, ocean variabilities, and many more natural factors are also there which affect or increases the temperature and leads to the global warming and climatic changes. But we also know that recent anthropological activities which produces greenhouse gases are more significant in contributing and leading to climate change intensity. We know that the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, nitrous oxide, tetrafluoromethane, hexafluoroethane, sulfur hexafluoride, hydrofluorocarbons, these are the gases which contribute to the increase in temperature and implicating the climatic changes. But what is more important here is methane and nitrous oxides gases, which emerges out from agriculture. And this is how we consider the agriculture sector as one of the contributing cause towards the climate change. As far as impact is concerned, we know that the climate change risk and even the climatic variability would affect the agriculture sector in a negative way, and there are various studies which have been carried out to assess this impact, and those can be divided in three broad categories. The one is on agroeconomic impact, where there are models which predict that or which estimate that what would be the crop production loss at a macro level, maybe in a GDP level, from this climate change. So those are considered as economic impact. Then there are also case-to-case study kind of studies which actually assess the variability impact on productions and yield. Those are maybe the lab-based or farm-based. And the third is based on vulnerability measurement, which we consider that the inherent capacity of the region or community is also one of the factors which make the region or community more vulnerable towards the climate change, and that's how it increases the risk. So although the climate change would be everywhere, but some of the community or some of the regions would be highly affected. That's only because of its inherent incapability. And that's how those are the studies which comprehensively measure the impact assessment. Well, when we are talking about the climate change, we cannot forget to just give a statement by IPCC. That IPCC, everyone knows that Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which was established by United Nations Environmental Program and World Meteorological Organizations, and they have been studied on a scientific basis to assess that how the Earth climate is changing over a period of time. So every 4 years they come out with a review report and give statement that what is happening to our climate. So as far as agriculture sector is concerned, their statement says that the climate change and variability will have significant impact on food security through the impact on plants' growth and yield. And the other impact would be in increase in carbon dioxide, temperature, altered precipitation, and increasing extreme events would also lead to the loss of agriculture production sector. So these are the broad statements given by IPCC, which clearly says that the climate change is a fact and it is going to affect the agriculture sector. Specifically on agriculture, because we know that the plants survive on carbon dioxide, and when we see that when carbon dioxide is increasing, it should actually make benefits to the plants. But what IPCC has recorded and stated that although increase in carbon dioxide is likely to be beneficial to several crops, the associated increase in temperatures and increased variability of rainfall would considerably impact food production. A recent report and few even other global studies have indicated that the probability of 10 to 40% of loss in crop production in India will happen with increases in temperature by 2080 to 2100. This means that there are scientific studies which have predicted that the climate change implications would affect agriculture sector very badly. Now let us just look into some observations which have been made by IMD. What are the long-term temperature trend in India? Whether it is actually supporting the climate change or not. So the IMD observes that there is an increase in annual mean temperature of 0.51 degree Celsius per 100 years during 1901 to 2007. That means we consider it as a slight of negligent, but if this is in a linear scale or maybe in an exponential scale, maybe in the coming years it would have a much more increase. But even if we consider it as a not significant, there are other patterns which are more dangerous. And what are they? So they have said that there are higher warming trend in post-monsoon and winter, which is much more dangerous for the agriculture sector. That means there is an increase in 0.8 degrees Celsius per 100 years, which is higher than the overall annual temperature. So that means that there are some seasons, specifically winters are becoming warmer, and that would affect the winter crops adversely. Now the rate of increase in mean temperature for the period of 1971 to 2007, that means this 30 years, 3 decades, remain higher, 0.2 degree per centigrade per decade. That means even though it is annual average is 0.51 degree, this 3 decades itself increased the 0.6 centigrade. Maybe earlier there was also a decline, so that's how the average is less. But the recent decades have shown more rate of increase and which is more significant. And that too, the increase in significant in minimum temperature is 0.70 degree centigrade per decade. That means what is happening is there is a minimum temperature is rising. So we do not even come to know. I think we must be experiencing a warmer winter. We in Ahmedabad, if I give you an example, that in 2 decades before we used to have winters which were extremely cool. The temperature used to go to the 4 degree, 3 degree. But these days, last I think decade, we have never seen any winter having a 4 degree. It is almost 7. It goes just up to the 7 to 8 degree. So we never come to experience such kind of climatic change in the real life because we feel that we don't see increase. But what is happening? The increase is observed in the minimum temperature. And that would not have an impact on human body much more, but that would have a drastic impact on crop productions. And in addition to there are extreme temperature events, increase in number of hot days and decrease in number of cool days. That has happened, and that's why we know that there are hot days which have more than 45 degree temperature have increased, and even the colder days, the number of cold days have decreased. That means there are warmer days have emerged out in winter. And this kind of changes are more significant in the coastal areas. So the temperature trend says that although on an overall 100 years data does not give any significant values, but there are patterns which are changing and which are much more dangerous. Similarly, we look into the variability in Indian summer monsoon. That IMD has recorded that all India level an average or mean rainfall for the last 139 years is 848 millimeter, but with a standard deviation of 83. That means that 848 minus 83 and 848 plus 83. It goes up to the that kind of range, and there are various years which actually get a more or deficient or excess rainfall. And there is a slightly negative trend of minus 0.4 millimeter per year. Of course, it looks like slightly, but again, if I say if it goes in an exponential way, it leads to the linear way increasing, it would have a real impact on the climate in the next 100 years. And out of this years, the IMD actually measures 23 deficient years and 20 excessive years. That means the 23 years which have received even the rainfall, which is mean minus standard deviations, and 20 years of rainfall was observed to be more than mean plus standard deviations. But even if you compare that, the deficient years are higher in numbers in the last decade also. And that's how that this pattern shows that the number of deficient years are increasing. And that would also have an impact on agriculture sector. And this decreasing trend is much more observed in central India, where the Ganges plains are there and which are totally agricultural producing areas. Now looking into the other events, the extreme precipitation rainfalls. So there are changes which have been observed by IMD. IMD has observed the rainfall pattern of 165 degree for the last 109 years, where they have observed that in 19, whatever these observations are written, which are very significantly found, observed to be different than the usual results. So what they found is, during the 1961 and 20 years, there are 17.6% of stations reported rainfall more than 24 hours at a stretch. And in fact, after 1980, there are several stations reported the rainfall event surpassing the intensity of previous recorded highest rainfall. That means that there are some stations which have recorded even more than 24 hours, maybe 48 hours or more than that also. So there are 20 stations which are 12%, recorded alarming rise in rainfall intensity, higher than even 40 or 370%. That means we know that recently we have been experiencing the intensive rain, or which leads to the even flash floods, urban floods. There is a continuous 2 days, 3 days rain, and most of the cities get flooded by this, which we never used to experience before. Now, these were the basically the climatic conditions, but India has established an Indian network on climate change assessment, which also studies or reviews so many scientific studies which are submitted to INCA. And what they have observed as far as the impact of climate change on agriculture is concerned, what they have stated is the droughts, floods, tropical cyclones, heavy precipitation events, hot extremes, heat waves are known to have negatively impacts agricultural productions and farmers' livelihood. So this was observed by INCA, and this is based on scientific facts. And more specifically, they have said that unless we adapt, there is a probability of 10 to 40% of loss in crop productions in India by 2080 to 2100 due to global warming. So they have reviewed so many papers, even the IPCC report, and from there they have quoted this statement that in India there is a real risk due to climate change. Some of the further statements provided by or predicted by Indian Network for Climate Change Assessment are the frequency of rain days is set to decline. Rainy days would decline, but intensity would increase. Both the daily extreme temperature will intensify by 2030s. That means the hot days will become more hotter, and maybe the cold days will become warmer. Annual mean surface temperatures will increase between 1.7 degree and 2 degrees centigrade by 2030. So it is not going to be linear scale, it would be in an exponential scale. The temperature would increase. Warming up in lowest daily minimum and highest maximum temperature will remain between 1 to 4 degrees centigrade. This intensify means what? That the highest would increase by 4 degree and lowest would actually increase by 4 degree. So that would be the intensification of temperature. In the days having such intensity would increase. So this would have a much more negative impact on agriculture productions. So there are so many Indian studies which have tried to study the impact of temperature and precipitation changes on crop production. So there are some of the agroeconomic studies, as I say, that they are models which predicts that what would be an overall impact of climate change on agriculture productions. There are also impact studies which sees the impact in terms of increasing temperature, climatic variability related to precipitation. Impact is also seen on the yield of various crops in production in lab-based or farm-based. And there are also studies which actually assess the risk and vulnerability, because we know that this is going to happen, we cannot prevent it, but what we can do is adapt to it and be prepared for that. So how much we are prepared, how much we will be affected will be completely based on this risk and vulnerability assessment. So again, I would, what kind of studies have used different methodologies, and literature on methodologies of impact assessments include different experiments in controlled environment, which are laboratory experiments, multi-locations and multi-seasons field experiments, statistical models, simulation models, and GIS and remote sensing models also. And these models have actually, many of the studies have tried to see that what would be the impact of temperature increase on different crops. So, and how it would affect the crop cycle. So it would shorten the crop cycle by early flowering, and therefore less grain field period would be there, and then it would lead to less yield of the crop. And this is how the production would decline. Projection also indicates the possibility of loss of 4 to 5 million tons in wheat production with every rise of 1 degree centigrade temperature throughout the growing period with current land use. This was actually done by Agarwal in 2008, that because of the warmer winters, we know that the winter crop, which is a winter crop, and it requires a colder environment, but because of the increase in temperature, there will be loss of 4 to 5 million tons of wheat with every 1 degree temperature increase. Wheat crops matured earlier by 10 to 20 days, and wheat production dropped by more than 4 million tons in the country. This was also a study done by Samra and Singh in 2004. And losses were also very significant in the other crops also, like mustard, peas, tomatoes, onion, garlic, and other vegetables and fruits. That means these scholars have already talked about that the increase in temperature would have a significant negative impact on wheat production and other productions. I think in Gujarat, what we observe is in the last decade, 2010-11 to 2018-19, what we have observed is the area under wheat has declined, and that's why obviously the production has also declined. Now, what can be the reason behind this? Because of the less productions, the farmers are avoiding to take wheat. So there was a 14.2 percentage of area was there under wheat in 2010-11, which became only 8.6, only almost 40% decline in area under wheat. And this may be one of the reasons of this decline, may be the climatic implications. Of course, we are actually going in a field to check it and to perceive from the farmers that why they are not actually going for the wheat. In fact, we have now irrigation available. The Narmada Canal has come. Gujarat government is giving a lot of technological inputs. And in fact, fertilizers, soil health card is there, pesticides are there, high yield variety seeds are there, insurance is there. And in spite of giving minimum support price for wheat is there, in spite of having this many facilities, why the wheat production is declining is an emerging question here. So we have been doing a primary survey for that to get the answer. There are also some studies which have shown that what would be the impact of temperature increase on rice. So increase in 2 degrees centigrade temperature reduces the rice yield by 0.75 tons per hectare. And there was another study which claimed that increase in 1 degree temperature reduced rice yield by 6%. So it is also going to affect the rice, and also going to now, which is also now upcoming crop for Gujarat. But the more important is, if you look into the this cropping pattern, almost 1/4 of the area is under wheat cotton. And recently, what we see, the share of agricultural sector has increased to GDP. Agriculture sector has done very well. It has developed and shown a good growth. That's only because of this cotton production. But if we look into some of the studies, which sees that the lab-based experiments for impact of 4 degree temperature increase on BT cotton show a linear decline in yield from 4,700 to 2,300 kg. That means around 50% decline under semi-arid condition with a high coefficient of determination. This is the 0.97 of coefficient of level that shows that if in a Gujarat, which is having a semi-arid area and which is completely 1/4 of the farmers are area is based on BT cotton. So, of course, 4 degree temperature would be much more high. But recently they have started actually getting a news like in Dahej and Bharuch, the the cotton yield is declining and it is not giving the fruit which it's supposed to give. So, of course, right now we are actually considering as a side effect of air pollution, but maybe if some of the studies would come out as a that maybe it might be there is a correlation between some of the climatic changes and even reductions in yield and production of BT cotton. There are also some studies which have taken the temperature and rainfall altogether and to see the impact on sorghum, which is the jowar. The analysis on sorghum also indicated that the yield loss due to rise in temperature is likely to be offset by projected increase in rainfall. However, complete amelioration of yield loss beyond 2 degrees centigrade rise may not be attained even after doubling of rainfall. That means in the short term we feel that although the temperature is increasing, there is not much production change in sorghum because we can give a good amount of irrigation and water. But even if we give the double of irrigation or maybe double of the rainfall, once it goes beyond 2 degrees centigrade, the production loss would be much more. So these are some of the studies which have shown that, particularly in case of India, that these crops could be affected highly by climatic change. And Gujarat is also showing all these crops, and that's why it has to be more concerned. And we have to look into that. What is our capability to deal with such climatic changes? Now, looking into the Gujarat agriculture, we know that the last 2 decades it has shown a significant growth and it has also contributed a lot in a GDP, but there is a high fluctuation in food grains due to rain-fed agriculture. So and that's because there is the impact of climatic variability on food production. There may be annual variability, seasonal variability, and extreme events. Seasonal variability means sometimes the rain comes earlier, sometimes the rain comes maybe after the season goes. Then that makes farmers difficult to take decision what is the sowing period, and that can affect the food production also. So we look into the food grain productions over a period of time. We see that there are lots of fluctuations is there, and some of these fluctuations and this less production is because of the drought and deficient monsoons. Although we have irrigations, there are some years which have shown a decline in production, specifically food grain productions. So it is important to assess the impact in terms of risk. The climatic risk is observed in terms of long-term change and variability in climatic characteristics. Not only in long-term change, but even the variability, extreme events, cyclones, floods, droughts, which have also increased over a period of time. And the other type of assessment, we'll have to look into the vulnerability assessment. That is it. Indicators based on regional analysis. It can be on any scale, regional scale, agroclimatic regional scale. Then what is the capability of this region to deal with such climatic risk? So one of the important analysis, vulnerability assessment. So let us understand what is vulnerability. Vulnerability refers to the susceptibility of a sector to climatic risk. It is an inherent characteristic of the sector that makes different regions to face different climatic risks. Even though the climatic risk would be similar, some of the regions would be highly affected while other regions would not. So these differences are created by vulnerability of such particular region. And can we measure? What are the dimensions of vulnerability and how can we measure? There are 4 dimensions of vulnerability, like physical resources, soil, land and water. What is the quality and quantity of that? Human dimensions, the poverty and marginal farmers. Poor farmers are not able to cope up with any changes. Technological changes, irrigation, high-yield varieties, fertilizers, pesticides, but Gujarat government is concentrating much more to deal with such climatic changes. Then the financial dimensions where these two farmers have access to credit, insurance, market, what is the price mechanism. These all make a kind of a sector independent to the climatic change, that whether that climatic change will affect the sector in what way will be dependent on the dimensions of vulnerability. Even the IPCC has given a framework for measuring the vulnerability, and what IPCC has recommended is to assess the risk of vulnerability towards the climate change. One has to look into the three different indices. The one is the exposure indices, which is a climatic phenomenon. The other one is the sensitivity of the sector. It is an inherent characteristic of the system, which symbolizes those response relationship connecting to the exposure and impact. Then how sensitive agriculture region is towards such kind of risk or such kind of extreme events. And the third is adaptive capacity of property of the system to adjust with current variability of future change. Coping mechanism. What is the coping mechanism of current community to deal with current changes and even the future changes? Now, what can we try to actually do a study to assess the vulnerability of agriculture sector in Gujarat, and where we could take the exposure indicators which were limited to rainfall, because still we have been trying to get the exact figures of temperature, but what we could gather is a data of annual rainfall from 1981 to 2011 for 30 years. We could count the relative variability of rainfall. Is calculated for rainfall for a longer period of time, and as the variability increases, the sector becomes more vulnerable. And this is calculated by district level data. This is not only this is inadequate to measure the year-by-year fluctuation, and that's why we also took the another indicator, which is known as interannual variability of rainfall in terms of percentage, and this is calculated by deriving the percentage of variation in rainfall for successive years. So high annual variability can increase the vulnerability of the sector. That means there is a variation in a successive years. That means the fluctuation, short-term fluctuation, is also very high, and that can also lead to a climatic exposure of that. If we look into the deficiency of rainfall and we divide all the districts of Gujarat, we see that there are districts like Gandhinagar, Patan, Mehsana, Kutch and Porbandar, which have a deficient of annual probability of rainfall, but South Gujarat districts are having it less deficiency or less probability of having a deficiency in rainfall. Now we come to the sensitivity of the sectors, and sensitivity of the agriculture sector in Gujarat depends on two main aspects, the physical and human aspects. The physical aspects include the availability and quality of land and water and even technology, and the human aspects include the characteristics of human resources who are dependent on agriculture, how capable they are to deal with such climatic change. So these are some of the indicators of sensitivity that which makes the sector more sensitive towards any climatic risk. It may be the cropping intensity, land degradation, access to fertilizers, proposal of small and marginal farmers, because higher the proposal of marginal and small farmers, the sensitivity would be higher. So this is how there are number of parameters which we could take from when the data was available. There are also indicators of adaptive capacities where more credit, better roads, better infrastructures can lead to better adaptive capacities, and that also can give districts better adaptive capacity to deal with the climate change. Now, as we have so many data and all this data have a different units and parameters. When we try to analyze this data, the first thing what we need to do is to normalize the data so that we can compare. Basically, we are not concerned about the actual values, but what we are concerned about that which district makes more sensitive towards the climatic risk. So we need a comparative analysis, and that's why what we do is we convert the values into a normalized value where we take the values minus minimum divided by maximum minus minimum, and that gives us a normalized data. We analyze the exposure index by deriving by taking the geometric mean of relative variability and interannual variability percentage. Why did we take it? Because we know that the simple mean would not give a result. If you have three values like 10, 100 and 1000 and we take a simple mean, it leads to a wrong interpretation because the mean would be towards the 1000. It would actually ignore the 10 and 100 values and it would fall towards the extreme values. When such kind of values are there which has a more decimal differences, we actually use geometric mean, and that's how it would actually make this relative variability and interannual variability in a much more closer look, and both will get an individual attention and weightage. Now we had a lot many parameters as far as sensitivity and adaptive capacities are concerned, and that's why we use the factor analysis to minimize the number of variables and to provide weightage to the derived factors for sensitive and adaptive capacity. There are so many variables and some of them are overlapping, some of them are negatively related, some of them are positively related, and to avoid all this kind of duplications or overlapping, what we used is we use factor analysis to minimize the number of variables and to identify the actual factors which make the sector sensitive or adaptive to the particular risk. And the weightage was given as per the eigenvalues of factor analysis, and this is how, by giving the weightage to each factor, we derive the sensitivity index and adaptive capacity index. After deriving this indices, the exposure index, sensitivity index and adaptive index, we use the formula which is given by IPCC. The vulnerability index would be proportionately dependent on exposure and sensitivity and inversely proportional to the adaptive capacity. That means exposure is higher, vulnerability is higher, sensitivity is higher, vulnerability is higher, adaptive capacity is higher, vulnerability will be less. So this has an inverse relationship. While these both would increase the vulnerability, increase in adaptive capacity will decline the vulnerability. So this is how the VI was calculated for each and every district. Districts were ranked from higher to lower order. Districts then were classified in 4 groups with the help of mean and standard deviation distributions, because it is the best kind of distributions where we can see that the values are actually following the normal distribution or skewed distribution. Groups were made and given a name like highly vulnerable, moderately vulnerable, less vulnerable, and not vulnerable. So this is the vulnerability index, final vulnerability index, which has shown that the Dahod, Sabarkantha, and Patan, these are the districts which are highly vulnerable, and there are districts like Valsad, Ahmedabad, Surat, Dance are less vulnerable. So these are the 4 districts which are extremely high vulnerable, and these are because they do not have an adequate adaptive capacity, and the sectors in these districts are much more sensitive towards the climatic exposure. So these are some of the maps which have been created. The first map shows the district-wise index of climatic exposures, and we know that as we move from south towards the north and towards the western side, that there is a decline in exposure index. This is a agriculture sensitivity index which shows that the eastern belt basically, in fact, and Patan and Bhavnagar, these are the districts which are extremely sensitive towards the climatic risk. In fact, there are also districts like Bharuch, Vadodara and Anand, maybe because of the industries and environmental pollutions which are making this agriculture sector in this district much more sensitive. Adaptive capacity is also higher somewhere, and somewhere maybe some of the these are extremely good adaptive capacity, and some of the districts are not having extremely good capacity because the farmers may be large in farms, holdings are large in size. Ahmedabad, Jamnagar and Kutch, which are having a better adaptive capacities, while some of the eastern belt like Samarkand and Dahod and Panchmahal, they are not having adaptive capacities. And this is the final map of climate vulnerability towards the climatic variability, which shows that the whole eastern northeastern belt is highly vulnerable compared to other districts. So these are some of of course, this is a one period of time data set. We have been doing it for the other period of time also. So for the earlier past data also we have been analyzing, and we would be then able to predict even for the future that which districts demand a higher priority and higher strategic management. There are some of the limitations for such kind of studies as vulnerability assessment studies, like basement scenario or current scenario is required. These all indicators are proxy indicators because we know that the sensitivity indicators are slightly sensitive to even the errors. We don't know whether the access to market and access to credit are measured accurately. So we have taken the proxy indicators, and some of the variables are not even measured. Non-availability of data sets also make to leave those data sets, particularly in terms of access to technology. We don't have recent data, and we had to be dependent on the past data. Recent data, once it comes, it would give us an actual idea. So these are this was our attempt to study that where is the state, what is the status of agriculture sector in Gujarat, and particularly which districts are facing major problems and which are sensitive towards the climatic risk and which require more attention. So there is a regional disparity between the districts of Gujarat state, where some of the districts are much more capable enough to deal with such changes, but other districts are not good enough to take such challenges, and those districts require strategic management to deal with such risk in future. So I think it would be helpful to Gujarat government and other policymakers who are actually even the district collectors who are making plan for their districts, that what should they prioritize to make their district less sensitive and more adaptive towards the climate change risk. Thank you very much. I take your leave and I thank you for listening me. Thank you.